with him, Eli did have the career of somebody that deserves to be in Canton. I do think there needs to be some level of delineation, though, between the all-time greats, the transcendent football players, the people that shaped generations, that shaped the way in which others were inspired to play the game, versus people who just had a Hall of Fame-like legacy. It can't be misconstrued. I don't want to look back 50 years from now and see that Eli and Tom Brady was in the same hall and think that was the same thing.
I was rooting so hard for Eli Manning and the New York Giants in both of those Super Bowls. I was living in New York. That was a team that was regional. I was surrounded by Giants fans. I was begging for an ultimate upset in 2007 and somehow lightning to strike twice in 2011.
Yeah.
But the reason why those Super Bowls were so special was because you didn't have a first-ballot Hall of Famer at quarterback in Eli Manning going against the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. That is why those are the most memorable Super Bowls of all time, because it was David versus Goliath. Because David beats Goliath does not make David also Goliath.
So you're 100% correct on that. And so with Eli Manning missing the Hall, here's the four names that made it. You know about Sterling Sharp. You see the story between Shannon Sharp, the first two brothers to ever make it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Then you had, and I don't know why it escapes me. I didn't have it written down here. It was, jeez. What was the cornerback from the Eagles? Damn it, C-Cat, I got all derailed here because I had it on my paper and then I lost it. But this year's class of 2025 actually was stronger than one would think. Jared Allen was one who made it, edge rusher. Played most of his career with the Chiefs, played some with the Vikings as well. That's where he really made a big part of his game known. Eli Manning wasn't in that class of folks. And even more so, C-Cat, when I look at the guys that were left out from the foursome that's going to be the 2025 class, that's where it even fortifies it even more that first ballot would have been a stretch for our guy, Eli Manning. Do you have the full list right there?
Right. Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, Sterling Sharp.
Yes. Of course, Antonio Gates. I love the one of my favorite things about the Hall of Fame class and all of the stuff around it is the way in which they do the surprises or show players that they will be getting a gold jacket. And I'm not sure if you saw the video of LaDainian Tomlinson surprising Antonio Gates. You got to remember, like, that dude was a basketball player. He was a hooper at Kent State. And went in as a tight end with the Chargers, was able to play with Phillip Rivers, was able to put up like historic numbers. And I'm sure at no point during his early playing career did he think I could be a guy that could be giving getting a bust and giving a speech and going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And watching his genuine reaction to LT giving him that was like special, man. Those are some of the best moments. Remember Calvin Johnson's?
Yes.
That was, I forgot who gave it, but that one was special as well. I think they had Barry Sanders in on that one. It's just such a nice moment, man.
Well, yeah, these guys are career athletes, and they are competing year after year after year until they're not, until you retire. So that's finally getting another accomplishment that is kind of back when you were in your heyday.
Yeah.
Got to feel good to once again win.
And for Eli last night, he was gracious in what you would consider maybe not a win, a loss, because he hasn't made it in just yet, and I think we all agree he eventually will. But there were others that I just think, again, had much, much more of a better resume that should have got in over him. Luke Kuechly, Panthers linebacker, 8 seasons in the NFL, 5 of them he was first-team All-Pro. The list of inside linebackers that have 5 All-Pro seasons, yeah, everybody on that list, a Pro Football Hall of Famer except for Bobby Wagner, and that's just because he's still actively playing. You're talking about a guy that walked into the NFL, was Defensive Rookie of the Year the first season, and Defensive Player of the Year the second season. Steve Smith, former wide receiver from the Panthers. I don't even have to go through his list of accolades to remind people of how much he shaped the way that we look at the wide receiver position. Adam Vinatieri was left off. Torrey Holt, who I think he gets a little bit of a knock to his resume because he was alongside Isaac Bruce, and he's at that wide receiver position, which, again, we're getting such inflated numbers these days with the way that the passing game is that I hope Torrey Holt gets in sooner than later, because the longer it takes, the harder it's going to be when you stack up his resume next to some of these guys in modern-day football. These are the type of guys that I would say franchises don't reach it to the pinnacle without. Now, the Giants don't win those Super Bowls without Eli Manning and the way that he played in those playoff stretches. I will give him that. But we're talking about a guy who has a career regular season record that is literally average, right at 500, 117 and 117. We're talking about a guy who his next best accolade outside of his 2 Super Bowls and Super Bowl MVPs, which are nothing to scoff at, but outside of those 2 games that he played in, his next best accolade is the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. It's either that or the 4 Pro Bowls. Which one would you say is higher up in list of what he would regard? I think it would be the Man of the Year, right?
I mean, after we see the Pro Bowl selections the past several years due to people stepping out, I guess maybe even Walter Payton Man. I'm stumbling over the words
Yeah, Walter
here.
Payton Man of the Year. The Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
But if you watch Giants football throughout the entirety of Eli Manning's career, he held his team back a lot of times too.
He did.
Like, he was the weak spot on that team. He played with a lot of good teammates. Plaxico Burress in his prime was a great wide receiver.
Come on. Jay Tuck.
Odell Beckham Jr. on the tail end.
Yeah, the defense is what held them up so high. Guys like Chris Canty himself who wants to see his quarterback get in. Again, this is not anything against Eli. It is just more so being protective of, number one, the Hall of Fame, which should come with barriers to entry from guys who are not trained talents. And then number two, I just can't stand the level of favoritism that we've been showing all throughout these things that actually matter, these accolades. I'm cool with you saying you really like Eli Manning. I'm cool with you saying you wish him well in his post-career endeavors. And damn it, you want him to be in the Hall of Fame. But to act outraged about him not getting in the first year, it's a little disingenuous. There have been, I believe, 12 in modern football history in the past since like 1990. There have been 12 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. All of them have been first-ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks except for one guy, Kurt Warner, who didn't get in until his 3rd time. You telling me that those Giants wouldn't have traded Eli Manning in the blink of an eye for Kurt Warner at quarterback?
Oh, they would have done it immediately.
And that's my issue. My point of contention with all of this is it's hard for me to admit that you are a Hall of Fame level player, or especially at the most pivotal position in sports, quarterback, if I put your general manager, your head coach, hell, even your teammates on truth serum, and I said, hey, in the prime of this guy's career, at the best of his best, would you have traded him out for another guy at that position? And Chris Canty, he probably won't say it now because it's easier to say in hindsight. I'm sure Tom Coughlin wouldn't admit it either because, hey, it's all said and done. If they were being honest about this, there's probably a list of about 10 other dudes that played quarterback in the NFL at that time that they would have rather had leading their team because of talent, because of the way that they played day in and day out on the football field, but then also the fact that if you get a ceiling raiser at quarterback, you see how much of a difference that makes. Eli Manning felt more Jared Goff than he does Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar Jackson. You ask any of those franchises, would you swap out your starting QB for anybody in the league? They're hanging up the phone on you. You would ask the Lions or the Giants of those mid-2000s, they're like, well, who you talking about?
Exactly.
Who you got? Well, what are we saying here? And don't let this get out, but hell yeah. So
right, because we love these fond memories. And if you're a Giants fan, you will forever love Eli Manning for what he did in those 2 historic, legendary, postseason, improbable runs. But there's a reason why those runs were improbable.
Yes.
It's not because the Giants got the 1 seed and had a catastrophic injury that had them backed against the wall like the Eagles in 2017 purport themselves to be. No, it's because the Giants weren't very good in the regular season and got hot at the right time. That's why the Giants had an underdog story not once but twice.
And congratulations to them on getting it done. And eventually you will be able to have that Hall of Fame speech, Eli Manning, and I'm sure it's going to be great. It's probably already crafted up. One last note on this. Eli, not only does he have that average regular season record, Daniel Jones has a higher QBR than him. Daniel Jones.
Oh, that's just too much.
Has a higher QBR than Eli Manning. Hey. What do you want me to do with that information?
Man, you corny.
What do you want me to do with that information?
That's too much.
I'll leave it at that.
Keep that to yourself.
I'll leave it at that. I will leave it at that.